And so we watch and we wait, right? Arlette Saenz, Selin Serfati, appreciate the reporting. Thank you both. Joining me now to discuss, Democratic Congressman Scott Peters of California. He's a member of the House Budget Committee and the Problem Solvers Caucus. Good morning. Good to have you with us. Late night, early morning here in some ways. As we look at where things stand this morning, learning more about this letter from Senator Manchin that Leader Schumer had for some time, do you feel across the board that leadership has been transparent in this process?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. Good morning. I'm excited that we might get to vote on the infrastructure bill today. And what I'm excited about, too, is that it looks like what we've been looking for all along is really happening this week. And I think the Speaker called it a period of intensity, but people are talking to each other. And this is hard. It's going to be hard. It takes a lot of work to get to an agreement. But we don't have an agreement at 3.5 or 2.1 or 1.5. Let's just remember, we're at zero until we pass something. So I hope we get this bipartisan infrastructure bill passed today. That's a big part of the president's agenda. Very important for roads and bridges, public transit, energy, water, clean water. Let's get that passed today, and then let's take the time we need to get an agreement, particularly in the Senate, where we have to have all 50 on the next big package, which will also be historic.
So in terms of that time, taking the time we need, as you said, you know, initially, as the only Democrat to vote against advancing the $3.5 trillion reconciliation plan, part of the concerns I know that you cited were not just the spending, but also the speed at which this was moving. So do you have in your mind an idea of just how much time you really need, that lawmakers need, to hammer this out so that there are some hard details there for lawmakers to look at?
Yeah. Erica, what I said at the Budget Committee is played out this week, which is we did not have a bill. We didn't really have a bill that could pass the Senate, where there's an agreement in the Senate, and there's a lot of detail. Look, the bipartisan infrastructure framework took, I think, 5.5 months to do, and we've been trying to do a $3.5 trillion bill, or something certainly going to be larger than the infrastructure bill, in 5 weeks. It needs more time, and obviously we haven't reached a point where we're agreeing on, and not necessarily the top line number. We need to agree what the programs are and what that we're going to pay for, and how we're going to pay for them. And we should not be surprised that that's going to take some time. It's going to take some hard work. People are putting in that time. I'm willing to do the hard work to get to an agreement, and I think it's really important for the president that we do both bills.
To that point, has it been frustrating to you then that there have been deadlines put on these measures moving forward without the details, which, as you point out, you have been calling for?
Well, I think, you know, I was referring to back when I was in school, a deadline always helped you get the work in. And I think the one thing we've had with this vote on infrastructure is the sense that we have to get something done before then. I don't know what kind of framework they're going to come up with, you know, whether that's going to be sufficient to convince people to come along, or whether, you know, actually they're going to have an agreement at all. I think it would be hard to get to an agreement today. But I would say, look, this is what we need to have happen. We could say it should have been happening a long time ago. I think probably would have been better if we started earlier. But the point is now we're at the table, we're working, and we have time to get this done, and it will be historic.
You know, as you look at being at the table, now you're working. Again, I'm going to go back to this letter that we learned about from Senator Manchin that Leader Schumer knew about. There's been so much talk about we need a framework, we need numbers, we need specifics, right, from Senators Manchin and Sinema, whether that's a number or specifics of what need to be in this reconciliation plan so that you will know when it makes it to the Senate that it can pass. I just go back to, do you feel there's been enough transparency in terms of what was known and perhaps had not been discussed? I think that's, you know, has a lot of people scratching their heads this morning.
You know, like I said, I wish that this had happened earlier. But remember, we're not at 3.5. We're not at 6 trillion. We're at zero till we pass something. So I think it's in everyone's interest to talk to everybody. And if someone wasn't talking to any senator, because you need all 50, about where they were, I think that was a mistake. Fortunately now, though, going forward, that's happening. And those are hard conversations. It takes a lot of work to get to an agreement. But it seems to me that Democrats are united in wanting to tackle these challenges, both in this infrastructure bill, which I hope we pass today, and in the Build Back Better Act.
Really quickly before I let you go, you talked about, you know, sort of who's talking to whom. Do you think the president has been talking to the right people thus far?
I sense that that's happening now too. I mean, but remember, you don't just talk to the people who agree with you, particularly when the margins are so slim. You have to talk to the people who have a different point of view. You have to listen more than proclaim. I think that's happening now, and I'm very encouraged by it. I'm not sure what kind of agreement we'll have today, but we will have an agreement as Democrats to pass something historic, and I'm looking forward to passing both this bill today and the Build Back Better Act.
Congressman Scott Peters, thanks for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
Jim?